On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks are reportedly interested in Dorian Finney-Smith, PJ Washington, and Andrew Wiggins, who would help fix some of the Mavericks' problems that we saw emerge again in the Mavs loss to the Lakers. We'll talk about that and more in today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Let us know one reason why the Mavs lost the game to the Lakers, and let me know who would you want, Dorian, PJ Washington, or Andrew Wiggins for the price and all of the above. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA. No, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, the Postgame prodigy, the trade rumor regal. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
Oh, just finished patching up one of my windows. I think a brick from the Mavericks game flew through it.
Across all the way from the West Coast.
It was a mean one.
Oh my gosh. We'll talk about the Mavs loss to the Lakers. Mavs lose 127 to 110, and it felt worse than that.
Yeah.
Missed a bunch of threes. Was it just the threes? We'll talk about that. What kind of decisions did Jason Kidd make? Because I didn't agree with a lot of them, and I don't think you did either, listening right now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll get into that. But before we do, Pascal Siakam got traded to the Indiana Pacers. Locked On Pacers Tony East has that covered over there. I'm excited to go listen to that today. And he gets traded for Bruce Brown. Good contract, but he's got only 1 year left. 27, not as young as you think. Jordan Nora, and then 3 first-round picks, not all created equal.
Yeah.
But they did get 3 first-round picks. So the Mavericks were never really in this. As Azula said on Avatar: The Last Airbender, you were never really a player. Yeah, the Mavs were never really a player in that because they just couldn't match what the Pacers got for Siakam. They move on now, and Jake Fisher reports this today. Dallas has been one of the teams engaged in acquiring Siakam, but they've also been linked to various versatile forwards, Andrew Wiggins, PJ Washington, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Your thoughts on the 3 of those guys potentially becoming Dallas Mavericks, and which one you'd rather have?
Well, I'm standing on business. The same thing I said about Siakam. I don't think the Mavericks make a trade of that size this year. I don't think the contracts don't make sense to me. Like, that's what it boils down to. I don't think, like, Wiggins, to me, if that were to happen, I would envision, in my mind, it would have been something like the Warriors got Siakam, Wiggins was traded to the Raptors for salary, and then Wiggins gets rerouted because the Raptors don't want him. Like, it would be a trade like that. I don't know if the Mavericks
Hold on. Andrew Wiggins is from Canada. There's no way the Raptors are turning down another player from Canada, right?
Isn't there like some beef? Isn't there some weird beef there?
He's Maple Jordan.
I know, but I thought there was some beef with the national team. I don't know.
I just know they love Canadian players.
I live in Texas. I don't follow what's going on in Canada very much, to be honest with you.
We the Southwest.
Yeah. But what was I saying? Oh yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry, I get derailed. So the Mavs game really just
you get derailed by me.
They really scramble my brain. But the Mavs aren't a great trade partner for the Warriors, in my opinion, because if I were to imagine if the Warriors were to trade somebody, you'd have to think it would be a salary shedding maneuver, and the Mavericks would be sending back multiple year contracts. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. But Wiggins is an interesting one because if he is a change of scenery guy and he comes to a new team and he is as good as he was a couple years ago for the Warriors, that's a great get. And you bought at the lowest point for a player who's an all-star level player. However, there's a lot of risk there because if he is just checked out and just doesn't, this is just who he is now, you're not getting bailed out by a team down the line. Like, you're going to be stuck with the 4 years left on that contract.
The thing about Wiggins is, we don't know. Like, does he suck?
Yeah, it's a scary one. Like,
he's got a pretty big contract too. Like we've talked about Kuzma recently, and Kuzma's contract starts at $25 million and then goes down. It depreciates, not depreciates. Yeah. It goes down in value throughout the years. You look at Andrew Wiggins, it's $24 million, $26 million, $28 million, then $30 million player option. Like, it goes up. So you're betting on him to either get better or to get back to where he was, where he was when the Mavs saw him in the playoffs last. He was like their second best player.
Yeah,
on the way to a title. Like, on the way to a title. It was crazy how good he was playing.
That Wiggins solves a lot of problems for this Mavericks team. So it is very enticing. And I've seen some good arguments on Twitter. Like SJ on Twitter's made some good arguments where it's like, well, that's like what good teams do is they buy low on players and they make the right choices. And those
Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron Gordon's a great example. And those, buy low trades turn into great maneuvers for teams. But it is risky. And the Mavericks don't have the assets to really they can't lose a risk. They can't lose a bet is a thing. Because they just have minimal trade assets is a problem.
They put themselves behind the 8-ball, and they just had a good offseason this past year. And so you're like, all right, that's a good one. But I've been talking when I talk to people at games, it's like the Mavs could make that trade or that risk or do a deal like that if they had 2 good off seasons in a row. Like if they had 2 good off seasons in a row like this past one, we'd be talking about them as a title contender. I really think that because they just need a couple more role players to fit in those spots, and then and shore up some things. And so like if they had 2 in a row, we would have been in a different spot. But they're not. They've only had 1. They had a really bad one, and then they had a really good offseason. So for Wiggins, I think he probably is the cheapest of these 3 options. PJ Washington, Dorian Finney-Smith, Wiggins.
I have no idea what PJ Washington's market would be, to be fair. But yeah, because you would think Wiggins would probably be the cheapest just because his value seems dirt low. But also at the same time, the Warriors probably look at this too and are like, why would we trade him for dirt, basically? Like, he was so important to us. Maybe there's a world where he figures it out and he's back to contributing at a high level, unless there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that we aren't aware of, which scares me even more.
Yeah, and then that becomes a whole other problem. The other thing about the Warriors, though, is they're going to have to save some money soon because they're in the second apron fully right now. I don't think they're getting out of it. But Klay Thompson's going to be your free agent. You've got Chris Paul as like a non-guaranteed, and then Wiggins and Draymond are like their only other big contracts for next season. And so maybe if you can get out of, some years of that Wiggins contract, that's the incentive for them to trade. It's like, we're not making a talent choice because we stink. Like we're not that good right now anyway. And Kerr doesn't know what to do with the players we got now. Let's make room for Jonathan Kuminga here and let's try to make a move. So Andrew Wiggins would be another risk. Like he would pose a risk for the Mavericks. PJ Washington is kind of an interesting one for the Mavericks too. According to Jake Fisher, they've been in and been interested in him. He's been on one team above 500, and that sort of makes me nervous, right? Like, him and Grant Williams would just be fighting for time and fighting. Him and Grant Williams and Maxey would all be fighting for like the same time in minutes to me. Yeah,
I mean he's a little bit bigger than Grant. But they do similar things where in theory, they're like versatile guys who can maybe play small ball 5. And, he hasn't had a great season. I've been monitoring this, and Hornets fans are not very pleased with him nor his efforts. But to be fair, I mean, they're just kind of a tire fire team currently. And I don't think you could.
The Hornets didn't even really want to sign him.
Right? Yeah, he had a very weird offseason.
They made him wait until like the very last minute. He was a restricted free agent, and then they signed him. He's making $16.8 million, then $15.5, then $14 million.
Yeah, it's not a bad contract.
That's not bad either. Like that's one I would definitely want to try for too. He would definitely help the team in a way. The problem is he's not really helping you get bigger. Is he helping you with perimeter defense? Not really. Like a little, but he's not coming in and locking down. So you shore up your 4 spot a little bit more. But then what if he's just as disappointing as Grant Williams? Then all of a sudden you have the same problem with 2 guys.
He's got some decent upside. So I think that the idea could be he's shown a lot of good flashes at times of being a really, really good versatile defender and like a legit talented offensive player. So I think the upside could maybe be, well, that could be they're different players, of course, but that could be our Aaron Gordon in a way where it's like we're trading for him and then we're going to maximize him perfectly in a perfect role for him. Is that who I think he is? I don't know. I mean, I was okay with going after him in the offseason because he was a guy that Mavericks fans really, really wanted. And I thought it'd been a good idea too, but how much value am I willing to give up for PJ Washington? That's always what it revolves back to, and which is why I've been saying I don't think the Mavericks are going to do much. It's like they don't have a lot to give up, and if they do make a swing, it has to work. Like they can't afford to swing and miss anymore. Is the problem?
Speaking of having to work, Dorian Finney-Smith, we know he would work. He's been here. We've seen it. We know exactly what he would bring. Problem is, I think that the Nets are going to ask for at least a first, if not 2.
The Mavs will be priced out.
And I think the Mavs could be priced out because he represents the exact type of player that is like a sure thing because you know exactly what you're getting. Complete like non-drama issue guy, right? Like you're bringing him in and there's no okay, well, Andrew Wiggins was away from the team, and then, he's pouting, he doesn't, like not playing well. There's all this other kind of stuff with a bunch of other guys that are available. That's usually why those guys are available. With Doe, you got no problems with any of that. Great culture guy, great contract, can hit the three, can play defense, has played in the playoffs too. He's got playoff experience all of a sudden, those two series against the Clippers and then that Western Conference Finals run. And so you know what you're getting with him. But I think you're right. I think the Mavs get priced out of that one too, because I don't think they want to trade that first round pick, because you want to make your big move. You want to do what the Pacers just did. You want to get those 3 first round picks this summer in free agency, send them to somebody and get your version of Siakam that'll help take you to that next level. And so all 3 of these guys, I think the Mavs could have enough for them, but I don't know if they're going to want to give up enough for what they're getting. And so if you had to pick one right now, I'd pick Doe. I'd just say, all right, just go for it, because the West does seem kind of wide open besides Denver. But if you had to pick one, who would you pick of these 3? Wiggins. The buy low.
I think because that kind of tracks with stuff that they've done recently, but also too, I just think you're priced out of Dorian, because I think you have to go after these buy low guys, which Siakam also kind of was. Like a player of Siakam's talent. This is a guy who's made all NBA teams like recently. A guy of Siakam's talent is usually going for at least an established young guy. I'm kind of shocked that the Raptors didn't get like one of the young guys from the Pacers.
Mathurin or Naismith or any of those guys.
Something like that. Nimhard. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the Pacers are just like, we're not trading these guys no matter what, but which is probably what they said. But Wiggins to me just fits that buy low. Dorian is such a, like you were saying, we've seen it firsthand. We know what we're getting. And if I'm a team like the Thunder, I'm looking at Dorian as someone who could plug in immediately. And I'm like, what are the Mavericks offering? I can up that immediately without even thinking about it.
Yeah, right. Coming up, let's talk about the Mavs and the Lakers. The Mavs lose to the Lakers in this one. What happened? Who's to blame? Did we just watch the same game again? We'll talk about that and more.
I forgot about this game.
Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. If you don't want to forget which game was just played just when, right in front of you, go check out Prize Picks. They've got daily fantasy all the time. All you have to do is pick the more or less on stat projections on 2 to 6 players, and you watch the winnings roll in. Go to prizepicks.com, you sign in, and then you can go and find like Luka Doncic points, 30.5, and you can go more on Luka Doncic. Then you can pick, they've got some, let's do some football stuff. Jordan Love against the 49ers, 48.5 passing yards. Give me less on that one. Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions, 91.5 receiving yards. Give me more on that one. I don't know. Just Detroit feeling it. Baker Mayfield against the Lions, 254.5 passing yards. Oh, less on that one for sure. $20 down. I can win 100 if I put down, let's just say I put down $5. I can win 25. Just have some fun with it. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you check out PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA, they'll match your first deposit up to $100. PrizePicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Also want to tell you about LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn is the place for you to put down your jobs that you have. If you are a hiring manager, I'm one that I hire people for Locked On all the time. And I know that I need the right candidates. I need to find the perfect person that is able to cover blank team and find them fast. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy. You have so many qualified candidates. So easy that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Pretty quick. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs as #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is?
Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. Thanks for everybody for reaching out about my WFAA appearance. I was in studio with Joe Trahan and the legend Nancy Lieberman. It was a great experience. I appreciate everybody for tweeting at me, and there are videos circulating about my my little face that I made. I just want to say one thing about it. It was a great experience. Shout out to WFAA and the team. Their parent company, Tegna, owns Locked On, and so we have a relationship with WFAA. That's how I've gotten to do some of these things in the past. Nancy Lieberman is a Hall of Famer. Her 1980 Olympic team went in to the Basketball Hall of Fame this past year with Dirk. She is a legend, knows so many people. Her phone is insane. She said this sentence. I won't tell you the story, but I'll tell you the sentence. And so then I called Obama. That is a sentence that Nancy Lieberman said tonight. And I was like, oh my God, you're amazing. So it was a great experience. So shout out to them. And Joe Trahan's a legend and all that. All right, Slightly. Let's talk about this Mavs versus Lakers game. Mavs lose 127 to 110. The Mavs shoot 11 of 40 from 3, which we've come to know and love as that's the Mavs lose. They just lose when they don't make enough threes like that. They have to get the open threes. They have to knock them down. You could just tell from the first quarter, they were chucking up threes and they were wide open threes and they weren't going down. The Lakers, on the other hand, 12 of 28. Only hit one more three, but took 12 less threes to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Is the Mavs loss solely on missed threes?
I think that opened up the floodgates for tonight. It was not like the only issue, but it definitely started all of the problems for the Mavericks. It's funny you say that. So, I mean, you're not going to win. When you're a jump shooting team, you're not going to win a lot of games shooting 27%. That goes for every team across the NBA, right? Tim Hardaway Jr. now, I mean, this is just wild to me. They're 18-6 when he hits 3 threes. They are now 6-12 when he doesn't. And it's just like a symptom of who this team is, right? Because if Tim's going, usually it feels like the rest of the team is shooting well as well. But their transition defense was terrible. This is a problem where if you're going to miss threes, you have to get back and have to get stops in transition. You can't just mope up and down the floor. And it kind of, we were saying this before we went live. This was like a problem they had last year where they miss threes and their body language is terrible. Their effort level, stinks. They really got to clean that up. If you're going to miss threes, you got to get back and you got to try and play some defense. They were just getting torched tonight. But yeah, I guess you just chalk this one up.
The fast break point differential is something I'm seeing a lot of people talk about right now. The Lakers scored 32 points in fast break. The Mavs only scored 7.
Yeah.
If you go to cleaning the glass, they have the percentage of time that each team was in transition. The Lakers were in transition about 21% of the time. That's like 90th percentile. The Mavs, 18.5, which is 75th percentile. It wasn't that different, the amount of transition opportunities. The difference was when the Lakers got transition opportunities, they were playing with 3/4 of the court because the Mavs were missing these threes. And when you miss threes, creates long rebound opportunities. And then you've got LeBron and D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves that are kicking ahead to Vanderbilt or Taurean Prince or to Rui Hachimura or Anthony Davis, who are already getting back on the other end. It's just it's just what they do. And so the threes, I think, started all of this. Mm-hmm. But I think they still could have helped themselves a little bit better with some of the other decisions and things that happened. The effort that you mentioned in transition, you got to get back. They just didn't show it. And it's just like, I feel like a broken record. I read your comments. I'm listening and I read your comments, your texts on subtext and your tweets and everything where you guys say, I feel like this show is so back and forth. It's like you guys are high on the team one day and you're low on the team the other day. It's just a whiplash back. That's what this team is right now. This team is a whiplashing back and forth where they win against, a good team and then they lose against this other team. And it just is dependent on starting with them making these threes. Because if they start to make the threes, then everything falls into place. And if they don't, then you get a game like tonight as the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Well, I'll always just call out whenever I feel like the effort's not there. And I did think that tonight. Like, shots don't fall from time to time. That is what it is. Kyrie had an off shooting night. LeBron tried to form tackle his lower half of his body and almost tore his ACL. So, okay, I'm not going to blame Kyrie. He's been incredible. Just an off shooting night. The team, an off shooting night. But again, it's just, you got to get back on defense. You can't get torched in transition that badly whenever you're missing threes. Because those are like turnovers, essentially. Those long rebounds in the team. So that's where I get upset. And what makes the highs and lows, I'll speak to that. I've already said this before, but it is the highs. They're high and they're fun. And then the lows are low. And you're like, oh my, is this team? I have no idea. And that's just kind of who they are, is they're just consistently inconsistent.
And they got Luka back. So it's the exact same script again. All right. Remember the last time they got Kyrie back? All right, we got Kyrie back. We got this. We'll just roll over this team. Okay, we got Luka back in this game against the Lakers. We'll just roll over. It's only the 17th time that Luka, Kyrie, and Lively have all played together.
That's crazy.
And so you're like, okay, we're just gonna roll over, and it just didn't happen. Their threes didn't go down. They got the threes, like they got the open threes. Like their offensive game plan was correct. Like they did get those threes. The problem is they just didn't go down, and then they didn't adjust from there because they just kept taking them and kept going for it. And I thought Luka adjusted. He started attacking a little bit more, and he could get to the rim when he wanted. But yeah, there's some, he couldn't do everything, and then nobody else was following suit with him.
Yeah,
on that. But coming up, let's talk about. I've got Jason Kidd made some decisions in this game that I just don't understand. When you talk about they didn't help themselves. The Mavs' effort for sure, defensive transition was not good. But I think their rotations and I think some of the choices made in this game made no sense to me. And I'll tell you why coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Game Time has the tickets for you over the holidays. I went to Les Mis over at Fair Park and I watched it. It was great. It was my first time seeing it live and I really enjoyed it. I got those tickets at Game Time. I got them last minute, and you can get tickets last minute to a sporting event even like an hour after it starts. You want to talk about a cheap ticket? How about this? The game has already started. Go check it out at Game Time. You get the view from your seat. All-in prices show your total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal even before you check out. You can buy tickets in seconds, 2 taps. There you go. I just bought a ticket. 2 taps. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account at gametime.co or download the app. Create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. For $20 off. Download the Game Time app. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. All right, Slightly. Let's talk more about this Mavs versus Lakers game. I got some things I want to get off my chest here because the effort was not good. The threes were not good. But I think some choices were made in this game that just didn't make any sense. One, I'll start with Jason Kidd is a player's coach.
Yeah.
He lets the players go. He lets the players conduct practices sometimes. He lets the players run on the court and let them like kind of police themselves in some ways. He wants them to motivate themselves and get to that place on their own as players. We've bemoaned that so many times on the show that he does not believe himself to be like the guy that to coach up or like to be the motivator. You're a professional. You're at this point. That's his mantra. That's his mentality towards coaching. Okay, that's what he wants to do. None of us agree with that, but it's what Jason Kidd is doing. So it is what it is now. The thing that I didn't get about this game is he gave Tim Hardaway, reportedly, he gave Tim Hardaway the choice if he wanted to start or if he wanted to come off the bench because Tim Hardaway's been playing so good. And he started Tim Hardaway.
Yeah.
That is not a thing I would have done.
It's interesting, to say the least. Who would you have started? Would you have started...
Just go back to
Maxey?
I think I would have started with Maxey probably.
Yeah, match the size. Asking a player if he wants to start or sit is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
It reminds me of the game at the beginning of last season when every single player on the roster played. Remember that? Remember the first game of the season that every single guy got in? Yeah. And we're like, wow, he just played a 15-man rotation. That doesn't never happen. He gave him the choice, which, hey, I don't understand why you give a player a choice like that. I also
Tim's been great lately. Tim's been great lately.
Tim has been very good, and Tim has been shooting the ball really well. And I also think this. If Tim had hit a couple of those threes early in the beginning of the game, and the Mavs, like, they roll the Lakers because they hit 21 out of 43s, then maybe we're having a totally different conversation.
Yep. That's what you want to player coach. That's why it doesn't matter.
That's what this team is all about. It's the variance of like, it's a couple shots that change the difference between Jason Kidd being a genius and him being an idiot, right? Like, or looking like an idiot. I'll say it like that.
It's so funny because anytime like my chat has just been a hellhole lately. Let's just leave it at that. But anytime before I come on here, like, when are you going to say fire Kidd on the podcast? I'm like, guys, do you know what goes into firing a coach? Like, especially mid-season. Like, it's a whole process. Very rarely is someone going to come in and implement an entire new scheme midway through a season. That like never ever happens. Like, I don't know. Doc Rivers talks about how he did that with the Magic once in 90, whatever, and he brings it up every time I hear him talk because that's how rarely it ever happens for coaches to do that and new coaches to do that.
They did it with Quinn Snyder last year in Atlanta. And that didn't work, and they're worse this year.
Yeah, so it's a slippery slope, and I think Kidd deserves a lot of credit. I mean, with a team as injured as they are, to be 6 games above 500 is a feat. But yes, tonight, there's some stuff. The small ball stuff tonight I thought just made no sense, especially in a matchup against the Lakers where you have already said essentially by playing Rashawn Holmes extended minutes, like, hey, we know we have to play big against this team. We know we can't go super small. We have to go with size. And going the whole third quarter, you give up 42 points, and the Lakers go on a stretch where they make 11 straight shots. I mean, it looked like they were easily going to clear 50 points. And the reason why they didn't is because they had some dumb turnovers, admittedly. Going that whole quarter without Lively pretty much for the entirety of it. I thought Lively was hurt.
He played the first 3 minutes of the third quarter, and then we didn't see him again the rest of the quarter.
I thought he tweaked his ankle. I was like, is he one foul? I mean, it made no sense to me.
That didn't make any sense to me, not going to Lively. Now, they got outscored. Like, he was a -8 in his 3 minutes. So maybe kids saw something in the first 3 minutes and was like, oh, I've got to change something up. Problem is, whatever he changed up didn't work. He didn't go to the Maxey and Lively lineup that we saw work the other day against the Pelicans. He didn't go to that until the middle of the fourth quarter. I thought you at least give that a try, too, because you've got to try your options.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I got to get off my chest is about this. We knew this coming into the season. All offseason, I talked about the Mavs have this problem. The problem is they've got Tim Hardaway Jr., Seth Curry, and Jaden Hardy, who all do the same things, who all have the same weaknesses, who all, like, they're basically the same basketball players at different sizes and shapes. And you can't play two of them together at the same time, especially against a team like this that's big, that can take advantage of smaller players, with a LeBron, with even a Russell 6'5". Like he's a pretty decently sized guard. Anthony Davis, obviously. Austin Reeves is not small. He's like 6'6".
Yeah, it's a big team.
It's a pretty big team. You cannot play two guys like that. And in the first half, he played a lot of minutes of Curry and Tim Hardaway and Hardy together. Curry played 5 minutes. I think all those 5 minutes were with one of those other ones. Hardy played 8 minutes. Hardaway played 17 minutes and 46 seconds. It's almost 18 minutes in the first half. Like, I didn't know what he was going for with that. It just wasn't going to work in that sense. Now, they were without Josh Green. He was injured. They're without Exum. So they're down there. I'm not going to hold that. Like, that's not going to be what's that shouldn't be the difference between a win and a loss, or getting blown out and not getting blown out. They had to go somewhere else with it, at least to me.
I wonder, so this small ball group we've talked about with like Seth Curry and Hardy, the eye test doesn't make sense. I wonder if they see something analytically, because I looked it up, the numbers when those two are on the floor together, Hardy and Curry specifically, limited minutes, they have a 100 defensive rating.
No, I don't believe in numbers anymore. I don't believe that defensive rating matters.
I was flabbergasted. I mean, it is limited.
Did you look on Cleaning the Glass?
No, I looked on play-by-play stats.
Oh, yeah. So it's a fraud site. So it does.
Okay, well, there you go. But I looked at it because I thought for sure, all right, let's see, 135. Like, what's the defensive rating going to be? Then I saw 100, and I was like, surely. So they have a little filter. You can filter out garbage time. I was like, all right, let's see. It dropped to like 94. So I don't know if there's just something analytically.
It's 157 possessions. That's not a big enough sample size for me to make any conclusion.
It's super small. But I am wondering if there's like an analytic thing where they see it and they're like, hey, this kind of works for some reason. Like, the on-off numbers are pretty good with it. Because they use analytics. They act like they don't. It's stupid.
No, they do. To me, I didn't even look up the analytics to this. I just know that you can't play two of those guys at the same time, especially against a Lakers team like this. Like, some of those numbers may be against teams that you can get away with a Hardy and
I'm just
Curry
trying to justify why it. I mean, they're short. They're not really that short-handed. Josh Green and Exum, at this point in the season, pretty much every team
two all NBA
missing.
Players.
Yeah, but every team of the season at this point is missing like somebody of that caliber. I feel like, at least. Yeah,
you could say they're missing a starter with Exum. Sure, like you could say that, but they've got their three most important players in Luka, Kyrie, and Lively.
Lakers are missing a starter tonight.
No, Christian Wood played. Oh wait,
Cam Reddish. He was starting for them for a little bit.
That was a weird experiment for the Lakers on that side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also didn't get Rashawn Holmes not playing. I thought he was only allowed to play against the Lakers. Apparently not. So there's something there where there's
something going on there.
To me, I'm all right. I'm fully back in. I'm fully back in on the conspiracy theory where there's something with Rashawn Holmes, because he's not on the injury report.
Yeah,
and he didn't get any time in this game, and he had played well against the Lakers the last two times. Like I have said a couple times, he can't play against. He's not going to help you against certain matchups. He did help you against the Lakers. We've seen it. Now the Lakers play a little bit smaller. They don't play Jackson Hayes. They don't play Christian Wood until like garbage time, and so they do play a little bit smaller. So maybe that's the difference.
Yeah.
But I just did not get what Kidd was trying to do in this game. Besides, was our only chance is to throw up a bunch of threes. Now Kyrie wasn't right either. How much of it is just Kyrie not being right? And if Kyrie was right, this is a different game.
Probably a good amount. I mean, it really is. If they make their threes, it's a different game. You can boil down most losses to that entirely because that's who they are. That's their DNA. They shoot threes, and that's why they can beat any team. It's also why they can lose to any team. And granted, we've seen this for these what feel like really frustrating Mavericks losses. You look at them in hindsight, and you're like, well, the Grizzlies, they've had some pretty tough wins.
The Jazz were the best example of that.
Yes, the Jazz were
really bad Jazz loss, and then the Jazz beat like 8 really good teams after that.
The Cavs, even they've been on a tear lately. That one is still bad. Like those losses are still bad, but there was another one too I forgot about recently.
Are you a team that's in need of a streak? Come on down and play the Dallas Mavericks. If they miss a bunch of threes, you're guaranteed to start a winning streak.
That's right. And the Lakers, hey, they beat the Thunder their game before this.
Yeah, right.
Here they go. We'll look back on this in a month, and the Lakers will be like 13-3 in their last 16 games. Like, oh, that wasn't that bad of a loss.
I can't wait to see is Darvin Ham the best coach in the NBA? Like,
yeah.
After all the Lakers people,
I don't even think we're allowed to say Darvin Ham's nickname that he's been given by Lakers fans.
No, we are brand safe around here. They wouldn't let me back on WFA if we said that.
I think we'd get kicked off YouTube. We'd be on a whole different category of video.
I'd have to give myself an explicit somewhere on there.
Geopolitical commentary.
There'd be community notes under this. Oh my God. Let me know in the comment section. What's one reason the Mavs lost this game? Who would you want in a trade? Andrew Wiggins, PJ Washington, Dorian Finney-Smith. The Mavs are linked to all those guys. Let me know in that as well. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow, the return of Dana Larson, Valley Sports Southwest for now.
Yeah, let's say.
with Bally's. We'll see what happens with Bally's. Yeah, it'll be Dana of Amazon next year. But yeah, the great Dana Larson back on the show tomorrow and all that. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.